Hello and welcome, connoisseurs of fine common cardboard, to today's live stream and to slime time for cPDH Competitive Pauper Commander, where today we are going to be looking at the card newly printed Slime Against Humanity. And we're going to figure out exactly what is possible with this card, what the range of different commanders we can play for this card to maximize it are. Oh, look at this. We got a little funkiness going on here. There we go. Oh, wait. Nope, we're in the wrong one. There we go. Oh dear, oh dear. What is going on here? Let's see, this one right here? No? How do we do this? Copy and paste. Wow, my stuff is messed up today. So there we go. Welcome everyone. I know we're getting a little technical difficulties here. So let's get started. We've got slime time. Today we're going to be looking at a variety of different options for maximizing Slime Against Humanity in cPDH. So let's get started. So let's take a look at the card. And actually, let's just get rid of this thing here. I'm not sure why this is here. Don't need it. Don't need it. We got the green screen now. So Slime Against Humanity, what are we doing with this card? First and foremost, let's take a look at the characteristics. It's a 3-mana card. It is a sorcery. It's going to make us a token that has Trample. It's going to put a number of tokens or counters on this token that are equal to the number of either Oozes that we have or cards that are called Slime Against Humanity in our graveyard or in exile. And that's a really, really important bit of text there, meaning that over the course of the game, the more slimes that we cast, the bigger they're going to get over time. And nobody's going to be able to mess that up unless they have some way of like shuffling our stuff back into our deck. And of course, the last bit and the part that's most exciting is we can have any number of cards called Slime Against Humanity in our deck, which is going to be really fun. So the first thing I want to take a look at here is what we can do in just green. So if we wanted to build a slime deck, what are some of the things we have to enable the slimes? And there are a fair number of cards in green that help us fill our graveyard. Cards like Satyr Wayfinder, Winding Way, Mulch. The side benefit of these cards is that they don't just mill us, they also are going to kind of draw us cards. In this case, they're going to draw us lands. And it is really nice to do that because ultimately we would like to get to a point where we can cast 2 slimes in a turn. So green also gives us cards like Vessel of Nascency, Circle of the Land Druid, Commune with the Gods. All these cards are going to put somewhere around 4 cards into our graveyard for 2 mana. And then they're often going to come with some sort of side benefit. Commune with the Gods, of course, could find us a creature. Could. Although it's not very likely because slime decks are going to be consumed primarily, the slots are going to be consumed primarily for slimes. But there's a chance to hit something like Blanchwood Prowler, Circle of the Land Druid, a Satyr Wayfinder with the Commune with the Gods. But also cards like Circle of the Land Druid are basically like a worse version of Satyr Wayfinder, where eventually they're going to give you a card back for the work. We've also got Seed of Hope, we've got Blanchwood Prowler, and Colossal Badger as more 2-mana ways to do this, along with Grapple with the Past, Roots of Wisdom, at Tapping at the Window. I'll scoot over so you can see Tapping at the Window right here. It's basically putting the 3 cards, and if you get a creature, then you can put it into your hand. The rest in your graveyard, you can flash that back later on if you want to mill some more cards. Not likely that we're going to use that, but now with these cards though, the challenge is that we really just have like 2-mana ones mostly, and so what if we didn't need to mill cards with our 99? What if our commander actually did it? And I'm going to credit some of this exploration here to a member of the Common Connoisseurs community, Ray Vamati, who's been doing a lot of experimentation with these very explosive builds of Slime Against Humanity. So if we talk about Hermit Druid, we're able to play Hermit Druid on turn 2, then we can reveal cards from the top of our library when we tap it on the next turn, so on turn 3, to pitch all the cards that aren't basic lands into our graveyard. And we're going to make an enormous slime. And the same thing with Gatekeeper, except that Gatekeeper is a different heuristic. You're going to basically play a deck that has almost no creatures in it. In this case, the only one being Battlefield Scrounger. Okay? And this is not an unknown combo of cards. We've had people building around this in cPDH for some time. And essentially the idea is that if we can get the Gamekeeper to die, that we mill over almost our entire deck, or a lot of our deck, a significant amount of it, so that there's a ton of slimes. And then Battlefield Scrounger basically continually putting slimes back on top of our deck so that we can continue to cast slimes. And they're all going to be really, really big. And these are going to make enormous slimes. And I've actually got experience playing against Hermit Druid in particular, playing against Ravamati. And the slimes that he were producing were 20 power plus, the biggest creatures in cPDH. These oozes are absolutely enormous when you go with these. And this deck basically is the equivalent of a force check. So cards like, Dargo Ketis, for example, commanders like Dargo Ketis, some of the turbo combo decks, loyal subordinate, for example, are basically a force check. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with the card, probably not many of you, but Force of Will is the namesake card for a force check. And it's basically the idea of like, do you have an answer? No? Okay, then you're dead. Because with a Hermit Druid, these slimes are so big and they're going to continually come out that eventually they're just going to one-shot people if they don't die. And really, not a lot of decks don't really have like infinite answers for this. You have like Doomblades, Go for the Throats, things like that. But then, maybe Victim of Night. You've got bounce spells like Into the Royal, Echoing Truth, that can deal with these. But none of the sweepers, edicts do hit them, bounce spells do hit them. But generally speaking, they're very resilient. They're really, really, really big. And so both of these decks are going to represent that. Do you have the answer? No? Okay, I'm going to do disgusting things, really, really powerful things. And where these commanders, Hermit Druid and Gamekeeper, are going to thrive is in pods that don't have a whole lot of interaction. If we're talking about combo pods, these are going to be effective, very effective. You're going to play this on turn 2, probably not going to get counterspelled if you've got the Hermit Druid, or turn 3 for Gamekeeper, and then we're off to the races. Cards like Gamekeeper can die with like fight spells or things of that nature as a way to get it into the graveyard, basically. However, there are other color pairs that we can play with that can really amplify the effectiveness of our slimes. We've got Golgari, which has some added ways of filling the graveyard, and we've got Simic. And I want to focus on these two. They're not the only ones, but these two do seem to be the most promising outside of just playing mono green. Oh, got to go forward here. So let's focus on Golgari first. And we do get some unique Golgari cards as well as just some black cards. Grizzly Salvage is one. We're going to mill 5 cards. We can get a creature or a land, which is great. So this is going to be a mill 5, draw 1, getting either a creature or a land back from the graveyard at instant speed. So that's definitely a good card. Drown in Filth, not likely to kill a creature, but it could. It's going to mill, and then each land is going to give it -1/-1. But ultimately, it's just another 2-mana mill 4. And then we've got Glowspore Shaman, which mills 3 and then puts a land back on top of our library. So not ultimately that premium. And we're going to talk a little bit about these cards in context. So here are some commanders that have kind of come up in conversations I've had with people about Slime Against Humanity. And the first one here is our Winding Constrictor. And Winding Constrictor basically it's adding a counter onto every time we make a counter, we're going to get another counter, right? And so at first when I was looking at this, it looked kind of appealing to me because it's a 2/3 kind of, play a land, play another land, Winding Constrictor, play another land, Slime. But ultimately, we don't really get any time in between at 2 to really increase the size of our slimes by milling ourselves. So ultimately, I find this one to be a bit awkward. Even though the curve fits somewhat nicely, it also kind of doesn't because all of our mill spells are going to be 2 mana, and that's the same as our commander. This might still work if you were to just say to not play your commander, and maybe you go turn 2 slime, or sorry, turn 2 mill, turn 3 slime, and then maybe turn 4 you do another slime, turn 5 you go Winding Constrictor, slime. That could definitely work, but ultimately I'm not as excited about this one. But the other one that we have is Corpsejack Menace, and I think this one is more promising. We've had Vector from the Common Connoisseurs has been working on this commander, and Corpsejack Menace has a bit of a nicer curve. Corpsejack Menace is also going to double the number of counters that we get on our Ooze when we play it, which is no joke. Okay, these are going to come out really, really big. With a Llanowar Elves on turn 1, a Mill spell on turn 2, and a turn 3 Corpse Jack Menace into a turn 4 Slime, turn 5, play 2 Slimes, right? Because we have the Llanowar Elves. This is a curve that I can get behind. So in Golgari, I think the commander I'm most excited about is definitely going to be the Corpse Jack Menace. The only trouble is that when we get, a sufficient number of, 1 mana ramp creatures in the deck, sufficient amount of mill with a sufficient number of slimes in the deck, it leaves very little room for anything else. And plus Golgari isn't really a color set that actually that helps us get spells back. And the fact that Slime Against Humanity is a sorcery does make this a little bit awkward, right? And so definitely worth exploring. And I know Vector is going to be continuing to work on this commander as time goes on. So there's those. Now let's take a look at Simic here. And when we add in blue to this mix, I think we get the most promising combination of stuff. We're going to cards like Thought Scour, Mental Note, and Otherworldly Gaze at 1 to rapidly put cards into our graveyard or select them with the Otherworldly Gaze. We're also going to get mass mill cards like Tome Scour here, 1 mana, put 5 into the graveyard, or Stream of Thought, Merfolk Secret Keeper. These cards are all going to put a large volume of cards into our graveyard. And if we think about the math on it, each one of these is going to put approximately 1.5 slimes into the graveyard every time we cast them. So we really do want these larger volume ones, and the ability to go 1 mana, mill 4 cards, or 5, or 3 or 2, and then turn 2, deploy one of our larger mill spells, something like Foresight, right? Which is not really mill, and I want to mention too, this is also one of the more exciting cards for me to put in here because there's really only 2 decks in cPDH that I can think of that play Foresight. But the ability to go into our library, search out 3 slimes, exile them, that means that we're putting 3 slimes into our graveyard or exile, which is as efficient as it gets. If you think about a 1 mana mill, putting 1 slime in, if we mill 5, we're probably putting 2 slimes in. If we milled, say like 9, then that would be kind of like putting 3 slimes in. Foresight does that, and it draws a card. One of the best cards in the whole deck, I would say. But we get a lot of other tools for milling, and some of them are repeatable, like Iceberg Cancerix, which is going to allow us to mill cards into our graveyard every time we play Snow Permanents, which is primarily going to be lands. We also have Chronic Flooding, which is an aura that's going to mill us every time we tap our land. And Compelling Argument, not repeat, but this one does allow us to mill 5 for 2 mana or to cycle it to draw a card, which is a really great and flexible tool. At 2 mana, we also get Mind Sculpt. Mill 7, we get Philology Archaeologist, which is a body that mills, but it can also draw us a slime, which is great. So Philology Archaeologist has is a great tool for this deck, right? It's going to allow us to get to those slimes, and either we can fill our graveyard with slimes or we can get more of them when all we want is more slimes. And then Strategic Planning, which is the same thing. Early on, maybe we, mill the slimes over and take the lands, or we can use Strategic Planning late game to take the slime and pass on everything else. And of course, in Simic, one of the commanders that is really, really promising here is Zemek Guildmage. I've seen some people mention this. It's a 2 mana 2/2 elf wizard, and really what we're looking for here is this second ability: remove +1/+1 counters from a creature we control to draw a card. This is a very powerful draw engine. The ability to use Zemek as like this cheap way to refill. If you imagine maybe we get to turn 7 and we've got slimes in play, you can play Zemek and immediately draw 2 cards just using the mana we've got. And so Zemek represents a massively powerful card advantage engine. I don't think that the second ability is something that we were very likely to use. But I think also Zemek just isn't all that likely to die in cPDH, except for maybe Sweepers, an Edict, things like that. So Zemek is definitely, I think, one of the top-notch options for Slime Against Humanity. And actually, let me check something here. Is that how it works? Okay. I don't know why my stuff is all so messed up today. Thought it all had it all set up, but anyways. So Zemek is not the only option though in Simic, and I think this is kind of a question of meta because they're both really good, and that is Galloping Lizrog. Galloping Lizrog is something I stumbled across doing some very specific searches in Simic looking for counters-based strategies. And Galloping Lizrog allows us to basically have two slimes in the command zone. Because what Galloping Lizrog says is you may remove any number of +1/+1 counters from any number from among the creatures you control, and then put twice that number on Galloping Lizrog. So what we could do is if we had, say, 4 slimes in play, and we play Galloping Lizrog, we can pull a counter from each of them, or we can kill one, right, by sacrificing, taking all the counters off of it, and make Galloping Lizrog into an absolute monster. If you pull 4 counters, actually in this case, if you pull three counters off of your slimes are gonna, or this Lizrog is gonna come in as a 9/9, which is a very large slime, essentially, because it also has trample, but it's also a 2-shot for commander damage. If we pull off say 7 token or counters, Galloping Lizrog is going to become a 17/17, which is a 1-shot for commander damage. And that makes Galloping Lizrog kind of on par with Zemek. It depends on what you want out of your particular deck. Galloping Lizrog is essentially redundancy. It's giving you another slime in the deck, and it's double size. It's going to just be ultra huge, right? Whereas Zemek is going to give us more cards to draw off of. I think that the 99 of these decks look very, very similar. The main difference is that with Zemek, we might actually cut some of the draw spells to just focus on more mill spells because we have a draw spell in the command zone. And I think that that would be a perfectly reasonable way of doing it. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at the list here. And again, this is going to be largely, of course, it's not matching up. That totally makes sense. There we go. This is going to be for Galloping Lizrog. And Galloping Lizrog here is, this list is going to be comparable to what you would play with Zemek, okay? So, and one of the things I didn't cover in that presentation there is that when you're playing Simic, we get counter spells. And why is that in particular important for slimes? Well, the main thing is that if we were comparing this to Golgari gets removal. But removal isn't as useful when our creatures are already bigger than everything else. When our slimes are coming out and they're just absolutely huge, we would prefer, because we know we're going to win combat, to just protect what we have, or to use our counter spells to stop us from dying to combo, right? So we do get to play some good counter spells. We get Intervene, which is going to be a very cheap way of protecting our slimes, but also with interacting with things like Freed from the Real or Ghostly Flicker. We've got Confound. We get Arcane Denial, which is great to draw some cards. Counterspell, Logic Knot. Logic Knot, of course, just being another counterspell because we're milling so effectively. And then cards like Spell Rupture, which are basically going to give us the way to not die to combo while we make big threats. Whereas in black, we're going to get removal, which is kind of weird because it's going to be very hard to attack us because we'll attack and then we'll play our slimes and we'll have blockers. So I'm less concerned about creatures in play. I'm more concerned about primarily dying to combo. And when we're playing blue, we get access to those sorts of tools. Some of the other cards that are noteworthy here, and maybe we can move this into a grid format like this, is that we actually get to play some delve spells. We have Logic Knot, we have Hooting Mandrills. We also get some really powerful draw spells, which are right here. We get to play Treasure Cruise, which is incredible in this deck. Like, you can cast this extremely early. In fact, I think you can cast this as early as turn 2. If you did like a Thought Scour into a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You'd have to do a Thought Scour into an Otherworldly Gaze, and then you'd be able to Treasure Cruise, which is really, really good. We got Fly Jump says, could Slurk All Ingesting partnered with Galatian Power Stone Engineer as commanders? Let's take a look at that. So I wonder if we can modify our... We can't, so I have to pull this up here. Browser display capture. Is that gonna work? Man, why is all my stuff gotta be all messed up right now? Google tab. There we go. So let's go to Scryfall. Oop. Sure. Twisted Sewer Witch. Why not? Now let's go take a look at... Hey, Jen. How you doing, buddy? So Slurk is something that I've seen folks mention with this. I don't think it really gives us anything. Slurk is an ooze, and it just literally doesn't matter. It's like thematically. So like I think if you wanted to have a casual slime deck, Slurk could be really fun. I think that the fact that it puts counters on things is not actually that useful in an ooze deck. This is kind of like a worse version of Winding Constrictor that only works when Slurk or another ooze dies, but it's ultimately just like proliferating a single counter. Hey, Jordy, glad you could make it here too. Good to see you, Jen. Slurk, and then you were talking about Galatian. So Galatian is also 6 mana. You can tap 6 artifacts you control, look at the top X cards of your library, put the rest of them in your hand and the rest in your graveyard. Yeah, I don't think this is going to be the way we want to go. Both of these cards being like extraordinarily expensive is definitely not where I would want to be. And we'd have to put artifacts in the deck. I think actually fundamentally Galatian would not work because Galatian's going to ask you to play all these artifacts. We're not going to have them because we actually don't have room for them. And actually we should talk a little bit too about, let's see, goes to deck building window here, about the number of slimes in the deck, because that's kind of like answering the question in a sense, is like, how do you fit those cards in the deck with their requirements? Like Galatian, you'd have to have a lot of artifacts, and it's like this chunky 3/6 that like for 6 mana. I think that like the game is just over in a lot of cases. Like it's kind of like, and one way that it could work is that slimes in the Simic game plan are good enough on their own that you can have questionable commanders. But I would say why? That would be the question. If we're focusing on cPDH and we're saying, yep, for casual, you do whatever you want. Because casual is like, yeah, it's like your heuristics are completely different. But for that, you know, with that said, you can do a Simic commander, almost any Simic commander with this build here of just like good mill draw spells, and it's going to work great. But with 30 slimes, okay, you don't have room for artifacts. For Galatian, I don't think you do, at least. And also like ramping is kind of weird, like playing 2 mana ramp. I guess you go 2 mana ramp into slime, but then the slimes are not big because you haven't milled, right? I don't love it. I don't love it. It seems very dissynergistic, but we've chosen to do 30, or I've chosen to do 30 here. I think 30 is a good number. You could go maybe as high as 35 in some cases. Or in Hermit Druid, where Ravamati is actually running, is running 42, I want to say, 42 slimes. But that's because his goal is to have like a super explosive force check type commander. Whereas this deck, you're just making creatures that are bigger than everybody else's and smashing them, smashing everybody with them. Some of the other really exciting cards in this deck too are cards like Thrumming Bird. Thrumming Bird proliferates every time we hit a player. Namely, it's 2 mana. So we go turn 1, mill, turn 2, Thrumming Bird, turn 3, ooze, hit somebody with the Thrumming Bird, put a counter on all of our creatures, right? And at first, that represents basically just 1 slime in the graveyard, right? If we hit somebody and we proliferate, we add a counter to the ooze, it's functionally like we had 1 more slime in the graveyard. When we play another ooze and we hit again, we're actually adding 2 counters now. So it's kind of like we had 2 more oozes in the graveyard, right? And if we hit again with another ooze in play and we just keep doing that, I think it's going to be very hard for people to justify killing the Thrumming Bird when there are like 9/9 oozes breathing down their neck. So I think this is just like a really, really busted card in this deck. it's easy to go a little too heavy into proliferate. The only reason I'm doing this one is because it does it every turn and it's 2 mana and it's flying. So this is kind of like all the things. Don't go playing like the 2 mana proliferate draw card type stuff, because ultimately like you would just rather have more oozes in your deck. And this is kind of like, I think, like a sweet spot. I don't think you want to go below this, very much below this at least. We also get to play Hooting Mandrills, which is pretty cool. And you might be wondering why Hooting Mandrills like makes the cut in a deck like this, because maybe you'd just rather have another slime. But Hooting Mandrills is a great curve filler that is going to be 1 mana in this deck. And it's actually, efficiency-wise, it's one of the higher efficiency cards. Like, a slime for 3 mana has to have, 10 slimes in the graveyard to be as efficient as a Hooting Mandrills, which is a 1 mana 4/4. If you wanted to pay to get a card of similar, an ooze of similar efficiency, we would have to make it a 12/12, right? So Hooting Mandrills is not going to be the biggest creature. It is rather big though, and it does have trample. It's a 1 mana 4/4. We can play this on turn 2, and on turn 4, when we have like 1 land up and we have three lands tapped for our ooze, we can actually play the Hooting Mandrills and have slime ooze, and that's actually really good. I think this is definitely super powerful. And Delve, of course, like you're saying, Fly, works really, really well because it's still exiling. Yeah, competitive Hooting Mandrills, I know, right? What a shock. I love this card. This has been like a card that I just love it. It's so much fun. In Pauper 60 card, one of my favorite things to do is play these like Turbo Storm decks that put a ton of stuff into the graveyard into like a first day of class with like Hooting Mandrills and Gurmag Anglers. I thought that was really cool, just back in the day. So Hooting Mandrills fits great into the curve here. There's some other really funny stuff with Proliferate too. It's mostly useless. You can proliferate the counters on Philology Archaeologist. If you end up putting a counter on it because you just wanted to mill, which is often what we're going to do, like 2 mana, just mill all of the 3 cards and then put a counter on it, you can actually grow the Philology Archaeologist. The Thrumming Word will grow the Galloping Lizrog as well, which is great. And then in blue, we also get some other tools that are really interesting. We actually get Distant Melody, right? They're all oozes. So this card is going to be, I think this card is frequently going to be a draw 4. I think that's kind of where this sits. A 4 mana draw 4. This is just a big reload. And I think that it's probably good just for being that. We're also going to get Lorien revealed because we're in Simic, which is great. And then a really, really nice thing here is that we have Mystic Sanctuary. Mystic Sanctuary is going to get our oozes back from the graveyard, which is awesome. It's just like maybe like turn 5, we like play this land, we get an ooze back on top, and we keep going, right? We're also going to play Thirsting Roots. This is one of the only other proliferate cards that we're going to play in the deck, and that's because we cut a land for it. So I cut a land to basically play an Ash Barrens. If you think about it that way, it's 1 mana, go get a land. But if we top deck it later on, we can just proliferate, right? Because we don't need lands anymore, which is great. Fly says, exiling the graveyard doesn't matter either against this deck. Exactly. There's no counter to the slimes being huge unless they shuffle our library into our deck, which is not a very common effect in really a common rarity at all. Yeah. What are some other things to mention here too? We do also get Pieces of the Puzzle, which is quite exciting. Pieces of the Puzzle is going to be a card that we're going to want to cast maybe again on like turn 5 or something like that, where we want to get more slimes. We mill a bunch of cards into the graveyard. Maybe some of them are slimes. Maybe we do a mix, right, where we want one more slime in the graveyard, and then we take a slime, and then the rest goes in. It's a little more awkward on 3, so this might be a card that we don't keep. But you can see that we've chosen primarily to stick with the self mill, unless it's 1 mana, that gives us a card back. So like we are prioritizing, of course, the Mental Note, and where Thought Scour, those are great at 1 mana. All the 1 mana mill spells are really quite good. Contingency Plan stays in because it's a mill 5. Mill 5 is a very high volume of stuff. And let's see. Sorry, it's funny. Actually, Rave Amati is just messaging me right now. So I was just checking to see what he was up to there. Um, and then we're valuing basically cheap mill or repeat mill very, very highly. So that's kind of where we're sitting. We're also going to be playing Shriekhorn because this card is a 1 mana mill 6. Which is great, and we're going to be able to mill with all the counters, the 3 charges on it. We're going to basically be able to mill 6 by the time we play our first slime. So 1 mana mill 6 is way better than even even than Tome Scour, which is 1 mana mill 5. And the fun thing about Shriekhorn, little fun things here. It has counters on it, so we can proliferate this with our thirsting roots or with our thrumming bird. So we can repeatedly put counters on it over and over and over again, which is strong. Other cards to mention here too, we do have Reclaim. And Reclaim is a card you'll see in all of these slime sort of decks. And that's because when we're self-milling, we're putting a lot of stuff into the graveyard that we might like to get back later on. And some of them are super devastating. Reclaim, if you're really getting beaten down and you have a Moment's Peace in the graveyard, you can actually just get it back and cast Moment's Peace twice. Reclaim can also go ahead and get you Ram Through. And Ram Through when you have a 17 power Galloping Lizrog or just like an enormous slime. This is an OTK. This is a big old boom headshot. Just sitting in your graveyard waiting for you to draw your Reclaim. End step, Reclaim, put it on top, draw it for opening turn, attack, boom, headshot somebody, and take them out of the game. So Reclaim is definitely solid here. There's a whole lot of other cards that I considered when I was building this. But I think ultimately this is the way that I would recommend. I'm at 101 right now. Let's just go ahead and maybe we'll cut pieces of the puzzle because it just doesn't fit into the curve all that well. Yeah, let's just cut pieces of the puzzle. That's fine. So yeah, basically these counter spells just help us keep us alive. Now, if we were to go ahead and build Zemek Guildmage, it would look a little bit different. We would take pieces of the puzzle out, and I think what we would focus on is less of the draw and more about the mill. So the sort of mill that we would play that we don't have currently, there's not a lot of it. That's the thing. That's one of the reasons about Zemek, that it's kind of like, do you need the cards? Every time I play test this deck, I don't feel that I do. But I think we would play like Commune with the Gods. We would probably play like Circle of the Land Druid. We'd probably play Blanchwood Prowler. We could even play Frantic Search. We're not actually playing Careful Study, you'll notice, because we don't really want to draw the slimes and then discard them. It's not really where we're at, especially because those cards are card disadvantage. And Strategic Planning, and Tygam's Scheming, and probably Tapping at the Window. And probably Winds of Rebuke, potentially. But yeah, mainly the 2-mana ones, and then we would cut cards like Distant Melody. We don't need it anymore. Treasure Cruise is still just good enough that we would keep it, but largely the same deck. Largely the same deck. I think that this has a lot of potential. This Galloping Lizrog crap is insane. Galloping Lizrog just being like a beefy boy, like a double size slime, super sized slime, is really, really sick. So here's an opening hand that we've got with a little more interaction than we need. It does have our second land, and we do have a self-mill spell, but it's going to be a turn off because of our Generous Scent. I think we can do a little bit better than this. Okay, this is great. This is great. So we're going to draw for turn, play Snow-Covered Forest, tap that forest, and we are going to cycle our Lorien Revealed for an island. and then we're gonna go island, and you're gonna see like we're gonna treasure cruise really early here. I think the way to do it is to go. So this would mill. So this would set up for our treasure cruise better. But this is gonna make our first slimes huge. So let's go foresight. And we're gonna go 1, 2, 3. And the way I would recommend doing this is just having your slimes up here with a close and shuffle with a token, an infinity token, like this. So I would do edit, and then I would do like slime count. Like that, update the token, add a counter. So we're gonna have 1, 2, 3 slimes. And then we're gonna untap and we're gonna draw a card on upkeep because of the foresight. And we're gonna go island here, or forest, into slime against humanity in here. And we're gonna make our first 5/5 on turn 3. Oh, let's just take that away. We'll just make them 5/5s like that. And then draw for turn. We cast another. And again, this is not super super complicated stuff, right? We're just making slimes every single turn until our opponents roll over and play dead. So this is turn 5, and we have 13, 18 power in play, right? 18 power. This is a fast act. This is a very like aggressive and durable. I'd say it's a proactive mid-range deck. We have lots of card advantage. We have lots of durability. Most importantly, we have a lot of durability because every slime that we cast just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And like, look, we're missing our land drops right now. And it kind of doesn't matter because we're just drawing more slimes. Like, okay, now we have an 8/8. And you can see how like out of hand this would get. Like, what are you supposed to do against this? Edicts maybe, but like, you know, bounce spells. Echoing Truth definitely is very good. But like, you know, this is powerful. The longer the game, yeah, exactly. The longer the game goes, the stronger we get, which is kind of why we're definitely aggressive, because that's like our whole point is to get into the red zone. But it's very easy to forget that you have a commander, right? Because like, okay, well, I can just cast slimes. But like, say we had the lands. Let's just say that we had the lands to do this. And we wanted to cast our commander, Galloping Lizrog. We're going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 counters, make them all into 5/5s, and put 12 plus 12 plus 12. So 15. Oh, wait, no. 6, 2, 17. Wait. So this was an 8/8. This was a 7/7. This was a 6/6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 counters is going to be plus 12 plus 12. So this is going to be a 14, 14. No, 6. Oh, so we actually want to pull 7 counters off. Yeah. And then basically what we can become is a 17, 17, right? So this is kind of like a double slime, right? And it costs you a little bit, but it's not that much, right? Like 5/5 is still big enough in this format to tangle with just about anything. We've got, oh boy, I'm not going to be able to spell your, let me try your name there. Niedes? Nia? I hope I got it right. Don't mean to disrespect your name there. I just don't know how to pronounce it. Hi, just wanted to hop in and thank you for the great content. Thanks for your deck techs and great analysis of the format. I was able to win first place at a local 20-player PEDH tournament. That is so awesome. With indulging patrician, nonetheless. Oh my God. Wow. Oh, you're giving me all the feels. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the positive feedback. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's always really, really nice to get that sort of positive reinforcement. So, well played, well played. I'd love to hear about more about that tournament. You can write it in the comments or in the chat and let us all know. Jacob says, I haven't had the chance to try PDH yet, currently finalizing a battle box of 6 cPDH decks to get into the format, but I've been loving the content and all the commentary. Well, I'm really glad you're enjoying it as well too, Jacob. That's really wonderful. My hope is to really just put this format out into the world and get a lot more people playing it, because I really think that the interactivity of it, the creativity of the deck building, the brewers, the opportunity for brewing, the endless new and interesting cards that we get into the format are just a really great reason to be playing it. And it's all so inexpensive that you can truly buy several decks and then have them for your friends. I have like 20 plus cPDH decks, and it's like still less than the cost of like a fully powered modern deck. So I think that's awesome. Jacob says, I'm trying to decide between the two and was wondering if Zemek leans more towards mid-range than Galloping Lizrog. Yeah, I would say so. So, you know, they're both going to be very effective at producing a lot of oozes. I think the way that you can see Galloping Lizrog is it's kind of like a force check in your deck, right? So, like, these are going to get the job done. But when you add this on top of it, if this then eats removal and they don't have removal for this, we're still going to win, right? Like, we're still going to win combat. Like, okay, they kill the Galloping Lizrog. What do we do next? Well, we go and, Thought Scour, mill some cards, and then, play our next slime. And this time it's like a 12/12, like super, super durable. So I think that Zemek Guildmage is going to be, it's generating card advantage, right? And that's good because it's a very aggressive deck and we're generating card advantage. Whereas the Lizrog is going to be asking another hard question, right? And it doesn't even need to be this big. Like, we could have also just made this into like a 9/9 or like an 11/11 and then like kept this thing slightly bigger, right? It doesn't need to be lethal. It'd just be big, right? Like just a double size slime. I think that's a good way to look at it. So Galloping Lizrog is like a double decker slime in the command zone, and Zemek is going to be card advantage, and both are going to be strong. Drawing into more slimes is going to be good. Drawing more lands is good. Yeah, Jordy, drain and gain, baby. You know what's up. Yeah, the Indulging Patrician, for those of you interested, I did do a video on it, so you can go back through the channel and take a look. Indulging Patrician is a sweet commander. Definitely recommend trying it out. It's an extort commander. And Nia says, sure, it's in France at Limoges. Oh, man, I'm so sorry that I can't pronounce that. In a small pub with a lot of players, one of us took it upon himself to organize the event, and a lot of people were hyped about it. Lots of us casual commander players were hyped by the novelty and inexpensiveness. I found your content and the little 20-minute segments of analysis at the beginning are awesome. Well, wow, I'm really happy to hear that you're enjoying that, because I've been putting a lot of work lately into making sure that the first 15 to 30 minutes are going to give you everything you need to sort of understand the concept behind the deck and the different possibilities involved, right? I want it to be really educational without being super long. And then the second segment is where we can like play test the deck, we can hang out, we can chat, y'all can share ideas with me, because I really like that interactive part of it, and I don't want to just make deck techs. Deck techs are so worn out, and really the goal here is just to illustrate some of the exciting interactions that we can focus on, some of the possibilities. Jam, what's up? He says, yo, what's up? Just finished school. Good to see you, Jam. Welcome, welcome. We're just doing a little bit of play testing here with the Galloping Lizrog. Okay, one land here, not going to be enough. Okay, 3 lands. We've got our colors, and we've got a slime. This is only one slime. We're definitely like, heart of the cards on this one. We're going to play out our islands first, because we get a Mystic Sanctuary. We do want to be set up for it to come into play untapped. Okay, we don't have any self-mill here, unfortunately, so maybe this was a mulligan. Yeah, this was a mulligan, actually, now that I think about it. We should have gone to 6. So this is better. Okay, so what we would do is we would put intervene to the bottom. Yeah, let's do it that way. Draw snow-covered forest. Or actually, what can we do here? We go snow-covered. No, we want to go snow-covered island. Go cycle genericent for what would it be? Type island. So tangled, yeah, Rimewood Falls. Put that into the hand. And then we're going to untap and go Rimewood Falls, pay 1 mental note at end step, 1, 2. And generally speaking, we'll put these things over here so that we have room to bring in our slimes and our slime count. And draw a card. Untap. Compelling argument. So there is a compelling argument here to the deck list. Oh, yeah. Let's get you the deck list here. Yeah, we'll just bounce out of this here. We're going to make this listed now. I'll make sure to go and update all this here. And let's get this in the chat for you. There we go. All right, Nada says, I won't hang out for long. It's almost 2 a.m. here, so enjoy the rest of the stream. I'll be sure to watch the replay of this build later on. Well, Nia, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for stopping in, and thanks for all the nice words. I hope you have a great rest of your night. Au revoir. Jordy says, have a good night. Cool. Jam asks for the deck list. Let's get that deck list in there as well. I didn't want to put the deck list up, so it kind of ruins the surprise. So yeah, let me know if you have any other questions about it. We're going to do some more playtesting rounds here just to see kind of what there is to learn about it. This one here would probably find an island off of Winding Way. Les Froges shall rule supreme, indeed. So we're going to go Tranquil Thicket, draw for turn. Island was a really good draw. It makes me regret playing this first, but that's fine. So we'll go 1, 2. And we might actually not play a slime until we've done both of these things here. So let's go turn 2 Winding Way, since we're going to use our mana more efficiently that way. And we're going to mill, and we're going to choose land, of course, because there's no reason to look for creatures here. So we're going to mill all these over. And we're going to get 1 slime in the graveyard, draw land, untap here. And I think maybe what we do is we just play 1. Yeah, it makes sense to play 1 here because we want to use our mana. 1, 2, 3. It's just a 3/3. But this next one's going to be quite a bit bigger. We'll go Island, Merfolk, Secret Keeper, milling for 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and then 4. And then Slime. And this one's going to be a 5/5. And then look at this. I mean, what more do you want? We're gonna cast the Secret Keeper, and we're gonna cast the Slime. And this is strong, right? Like this is 11, 14 power on turn 5. 14 power on turn 5, all with Trample. Compelling Argument's kind of a nice one here. So we could Compelling Argument to make sure that our next ones are big. We could also cycle it. It would actually fit better into our curve to cycle it. So we're going to cycle it, draw a card, intervene is fine. I'm going to tap this, pay that, get a 7/7. Slimin' time, baby. Yeah, turn 6, we've got 13, 18, 21 power. And look at this, we're just drawing slimes. Slimes like it's nobody's business here. Yeah, this is no joke. Like, make no mistake, my thumbnail was meme. It was memery, but this is definitely like no joke. Yeah, slimes are very strong. This is gonna be like kind of up there with, but it's so much more durable. Yeah, exactly. It's aggro that extends into the mid game. And actually, Fly, just to expand on that point, I have been playing Pauper for a long time, and when you look at the construction of Pauper decks, even the most explosive and devastating like aggro decks and the burn, they're all playing card advantage. They're all playing a lot of it. And that's because the 1-for-1 answers in common are really, really good, right? If you play like an annoyed, well, let's see, Altasaur is a 2-for-1, so that doesn't really make sense. But if you cast like like a Gurmag Angler, okay, 1-mana 5/5, and somebody answers it with a 2-mana cast down, right? Like your efficiency is so high on that removal spell, right? Even the bolts are really effective, and so that's why like they all need to have card advantage in them. And because we don't get card advantage all that great in certain colors in cPDH, your aggro decks should be strong. Like they should be durable, right? Because then your card advantage is the fact that these are really, really hard to kill, right? They stick and play. Like a sticky card is kind of a form of card advantage. If the card doesn't go away, right, then it's just operating turn after turn after turn. And you can see here, we're just going to cast slimes until, you know, until these are just huge. I mean, look at this. Like by turn 10, if for some reason it got to that point, that's what they'd be facing down. That's if you count these last 3 here, right? So your aggro decks in cPDH, because you're playing a multiplayer format, need to have card advantage in them. I'm not a huge fan of like force check type aggro in cPDH. That's an opinion. It's a subjective one. But I think that this is where you want to be. You want to be like something where you're making these really durable things. Like Goreclaw is similar that way, where like if Goreclaw dies, well then we just like cast our big 5/5s, 4/4s. They've all got trample. Eventually resolve Goreclaw again. You know, it's just durable. It's very durable. So here's another one. We don't have any blue mana for our Tomb Scour, so we're gonna shuffle this one away. This one has no lands. That's not gonna work. This one has no green, but it does have a Shriekhorn and 1 slime. I think we actually go to 5. Oh boy. We have our colors and we have our lands, so this is good. Probably put a slime to the bottom. Put these on the bottom. Draw. Not a very good one. Gonna do this, cycle this away, forest. Fly asks, could this deck work without mill and just focus on casting the slimes with a lot of ramp and draw? So your first one would be just a 2/2. Second one is a 3/3, 4/4, 5/5. I don't think that's good enough, personally. I think that we want to be casting much bigger slimes. So this is kind of a dysfunctional hand here, to be honest, because like we're going to draw this next one. We'll Dream Twist. 1, 2, 3. So our first slime, and this has got flashback for 2, 2, 3. Yeah, this is a bit of an awkward hand, so that's fine. You get awkward hands sometimes. No lands, of no fault of our own. No slimes, but we do have a lot of mill. That's right. A lot of the mill does draw, exactly, because we're getting lands back from the graveyard often. This has a lot of lands, but it has mill, but it doesn't have any slimes. Let's try it. There's a slime. Let's go Dream Twist. 1, 2, 3. And Dream Twist, of course, does have a flashback on it, so we're going to leave that off the side here. And I think when we... Actually, we could have milled this too. Yeah, Foresight is amazing. Foresight early game makes all the slimes start out as a minimum of 5/5. Late game, you exile lands. Just go and exile lands so that you don't draw them. Or mill spells, I suppose. One of the two. Depends on what you want. Or just make the slimes bigger. It replaces itself too, which is really good. I think what we would do here actually is at upkeep. Well, no, we can't on upkeep. We would draw this card. Yeah. So we're going to go here. And this might look weird, but I basically want to like get the maximum value out of these, out of this mill here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we didn't hit any more slimes, which is unfortunate. We do have a treasure cruise. You can see where the treasure cruise is really good, right? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. So we're going to go Tranquil Thicket tapped. And we're going to pay 2 for a full treasure cruise here for 2 mana. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to untap. Hopefully we get a land. Nope, no land. But we could go... So this is turn 4. We do need to start sliming. So we're going to go here. We're going to slime. First slime is just going to be 3/3. Oops, that wasn't the intention. So slime. First slime is going to be 1, 2, 3. But the next slimes are going to be big because we're going to go Tomb Scour. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not that much bigger. 5/5 on the next one. This Tomb Scour is sorcery, yeah. Okay, and then tap these for a slime. There. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Next turn, we could go Satyr Wayfinder, actually. Yeah, I quite like that. Satyr Wayfinder, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to grab this, put 2 slimes in, take the land. Land is going to bridge us to the next slime. So now we're going to tap 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they're 8/8. This next one is 8/8. So like, look at that. Turn 6 on like a kind of a weird draw. Turn 6, we've got 8, 13, 16, 17 power in play. And now, say we just want to... Actually, we've got Thirsting Roots. Could make them all bigger, which is pretty cool. So I think what we'll do is we'll go 1, 2, 3 for slime. This is going to make this into a 9/9. And then we're going to go... well, actually, ironically, like we could kill somebody just with Ram Through, right? If we chose not to cast this, we could Ram Through, Counterspell, and Thirsting Roots. Maybe that's the better way to do it. Yeah. So we go 1 for Thirsting Roots, which is going to add a counter to all of these. And then we're going to go to attack. And then we go 1, 2 for Ram Through with this, which is almost certainly lethal. And then when they go to kill it, we go Sheltering Word and we gain 9 life. And we kill somebody, right? And then next turn, Chronic Flooding is a good draw. Although these don't need to be any bigger, right? Now we just need lands. But we can actually just go turn like this, Ooze into a 9/9, and then hold up Spell Rupture. So attack somebody, they try to stop us, we Spell Rupture them, draw again, Counterspell. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, just cast another slime. And you can see how easy it is to forget that we even have a Galloping Lizrog, right? Galloping Lizrog, like, and maybe this is where Zemek fits in, right? Because Galloping Lizrog, like right now, we could go, you know, untap and cast him, and we could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and make this into a 17/17. I think it's strong. I think this is exactly what we want to be doing with slimes. Galloping Lizrog or the other one. Here's another one. This is actually a much better hand than any of the other ones before. We've got 2 slimes. We've got a way to find it now. Let's go Forest. Draw. Circle of the Land Druid is ultimately just another... is just another 2-mana mill spell. And if you just don't have room, right? Yeah, Fly, you've got a good point. The commander choice is not wildly important. Yeah. But you can look at it this way, though. So imagine that last game, if I didn't draw a slime, but I had the 5 mana, like, you just cast your Lizrog, and this is a bigger slime. So this is kind of like, this is insurance in the same way that the Zemet Guildmage is. The Zemet Guildmage says we're going to draw more cards using your counters, and the Galloping Lizrog says we have the thing we are trying to draw in the command zone. So we can just cast it, right? Just cast it. If we don't draw another slime, just cast it, right? Like, and I think that there's a lot of wisdom to that. Just like play the thing you want. The Zemet Guildmage is going to get you all this other stuff. Lands, it's going to get you slimes, a third of the time. It's going to get you some counter spells, maybe, some more mill. But like Galloping Lizrog is the thing we want. It is a slime. It's an honorary slime, double-decker slime. So here we're going to go island into forest, and I think we want to grapple with the past because we want to find a land. 1, 2, 3. There's the land. Yeah, it's a big backup slime. Exactly. So there's that. And then we're going to go next into forest. Tap, slime. Going to make the ooze like this. 1, 2, 3. Not very big at first. But these little ones we can eat up with the Galloping Lizrog, right? Like the little ones we can nom on them. So we'll go island into cycling lonely sandbar, draw a card. Oh, foresight. That might be worth taking a turn off because it's going to make them so much bigger. Yeah, and then next turn we'll go Philology into slime. Yeah, so we'll take this turn off from playing slimes to go and get 2, 3 slimes out. Shuffle, pass, draw, untap, draw, land, 1, 2, Philology Archaeologist, 1, 2, 3, into the graveyard. In which case we would probably take this one and this one, or let's see, we can't take both. We've got plenty of cards. We just want, actually no, we do want more slimes. So we would probably, let's just put them all in the graveyard. Let's just put them all in the graveyard. We don't need them. Put a +1/+1 counter on this. 1, 2, 3, cast a slime. This one's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. And then untap. Merfolk Secret Keeper fits into the curve nicely, so we'll go Merfolk Secret Keeper. Mill 1, 2, 3, 4. Did not get anything we want. So yeah, this particular round here is a little bit awkward. So the next turn we're probably going to cast the Lizrog unless we get this. This is the difference. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this is an 8/8. Like that. And then say we have to like use one of our counter spells. Okay, and this is where we probably just play the Galloping Lizrog, remove 3 counters, and make this into a 9/9. So turn 8. This hasn't been like the best of them. With a little too interactive here on this one, but still we have 15, 24 power in play. 25 power if you include the Archaeologist. Actually, yeah, we would have removed one from the Archaeologist too. Like that, make it an 11/11. Funnily enough, Frilled Mystic or Shardless Agent could be interesting as commanders too. Yeah, we looked, I looked into those. Frilled Mystic is ultimately just like super awkward. Just a 4-mana counter spell on a body. It can like eat an edict as well as counter a spell, which is fine. Shardless Agent is not going to cascade into an ooze, but it would cascade into a mill spell probably. The problem is that Shardless Agent's also 3 mana, which is like awkward, right? It's like the same cost as our ooze. We have to just decide between our commander and ooze, and we don't even get to redo it, I suppose. But like this is good, Try another one. We got mill. We have thirsting roots. We really want to hit a forest, but I think we're gonna risk it. Risk it for the biscuit. Mental note 1, 2. That kind of sucks. Draw a forest. Nope. Okay, Foresight's actually pretty good here. We'll go Foresight, Slime, because we actually want to draw lands now. So like thinning out of the slimes is good. Draw, untap, draw. And actually what we would do here is we would actually go 1 mana Otherworldly Gaze on upkeep to get to our forest. And then we would draw for turn. Cycle Lorien revealed. Go and get was it Tangled? Tangled. Wait, type island. Rimewood Falls. And we play the Rimewood Falls. Tapped. Untap. Now we have 3 slimes in the graveyard. We can go 1 mana. This is where the Hooting Mandrills comes into play. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like this. All this into exile. Cast that, and then 3 for a Slime Against Humanity, which is going to be a 5/5. And you can see why the Hooting Mandrills feels good here, because Hooting Mandrills is like actually like comparably quite a bit more efficient at this particular moment of the game. And then we're going to go Slime again. And it's going to be a 6/6. And then we're going to proliferate this up with Thirsting Roots. And then I think what we want to do is untap on upkeep, pay Island Forest to flashback Otherworldly Gaze. 1, 2, 3. Whoa. I think what we do here is we bin all of them. Because if we draw a land right now, nope, no land. One, two, three. We probably take this one right here, bin these 2. Because what I want to do now is cast the Lizrog, right? Draw. Island, grapple with the past to try and find a land. 1, 2, 3. Does grapple with the past? Oh, it gets a, yeah, we just get this back. Nice, because it can get any card from the graveyard. Mill 3, 3 large slimes. And then 1, 2, 3 into a slime. And this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This is a 13, 13. Now it is turn 7. Airness combined with the Sword Coast could put the lands on the field each time as well. Airness is also 3 mana, so it's kind of like in that awkward zone. But I suppose, I mean, again, like Airness with Sword Coast Sailor, where the Sword Coast Sailor's main purpose is just to make sure you hit your land drops. It's kind of interesting. I wonder if there's something better than that, though. It's worth looking at. I'll let you do that. Jam says, wait, I think I might have cooked with something. Tempest Heart lets you have a blue Faithless Looting in the command zone. Because of how Commander works, you can bring adventures right back into the command zone. Yeah. The problem with Tempest Heart is that like the other side of the card doesn't really do anything, right? And I don't think looting is really where we want to be. Like I just want to mill a lot of cards because you can't there's not a lot of cards out there that give you the same volume of stuff to put into the graveyard. But again, keep this in mind, Jam. Like, the Simic Slime plan is good enough that you could probably play it in Tempest Heart, right? Just doesn't do anything with the other part of the commander, which is kind of weird. See, if we get a land here, now we go Galloping Lizrog, and we remove 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And let's do 6, 7. Oh, actually, this got a counter. So we'll do 7, and we'll make this into a 17, 17 on turn 8, right? This is powerful. This is powerful. mill spell slime. It's pretty good. Even with 2 slimes in the graveyard or exile, is efficient as most creatures in Goreclaw with his reduction. Yeah, when you have Goreclaw, her reduction is producing pretty big stuff, like 2 mana 5/5 is kind of like the floor because you're attacking and then getting trample. But if Goreclaw dies, it does slow the deck down. That is one thing to keep in mind. Whereas when the slimes die, it just kind of like, okay, we'll cast more slimes. So let's go. This is going to be a bit slow, but we're going to go Broker's Hideout, and we're going to go find an island. Draw. Oh, yep, in play. Draw for turn. Oh, that's kind of nice. See, now I'm tempted to just go compelling argument. Jam, maybe we should get on a call and play all Slimes game where we're all on slimes. You know, the slime deck that would win is the Hermit Druid. The Hermit Druid would be the biggest slime deck. So I don't know that it would be all that fun. It would just roll everybody. Unless maybe everybody could kill them. That's also possible. cPDH is self-regulating like that. I think what we do here is we play a Tranquil Thicket, because we're actually not going to cast our first Ooze until a little bit later. So we're going to go play the Tranquil Thicket, go Vision Charm. 1, 2, 3, 4. Into the graveyard. Unfortunately, the Foresight is there, but that's fine. There's a slime. And then untap, and I think what we would do is Otherworldly Gaze. Actually, we're going to do Compelling Argument. So we'll go cycle this for a forest. Get the forest, play it, and then we're going to tap 2 and cast Compelling Argument. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, there's some slimes. There's a Treasure Cruise as well, which we probably won't be able to get back super easily. So the first one will be a 5/5. And actually what I could have done here as well is just milled. Actually, that would have been the correct thing to do. Untap, and then we're trying to find a land. So we go Otherworldly Gaze, 1, 2, 3, and we mill all of these on upkeep and then draw. Okay, well that didn't work out so well, but we will get a Thrumming Bird, and the slimes are going to be big when they come out. So yeah, first slime's going to be cast 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so it's a 7/7. And it's going to become an 8/8. Attack, make it an 8/8, proliferate. Land. We could hold up Spell Rupture and Grapple, which I kind of like. So we go to combat. We're going to proliferate this. Somebody's going to try and interact with us. Let's just pretend that. We're going to do a Spell Rupture. And then we're going to go 1, 2, 3 for a Grapple with the Past. 1, 2, 3. Slime. Island, land. Untap. Island. Actually, what we do is we go Forest Island, Iceberg Cancerix, Island, Mill 2, and then 1, 2, 3 for a slime. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is a 10/10. And then we swing. This thing is going to increase the counters on these things. So turn 7, we're sitting here with like 23 power in play. And then when we untap, we can always just go slime, or if we didn't draw slime, we would just Distant Melody maybe. But like, you can see how good the Thrumming Bird is here. Going to become an 11/11, I think, if we cast that. And then this becomes an 11/11, 12/12, 12/12 with the Thrumming Bird. And now that we don't draw any slimes, we can go and cast a big reload here for 3. 1, 2, 3. Or we actually just cast the Galloping Lizrog. That could be the argument for Distant Melody not being in the deck, is that when you have mana for Distant Melody, you probably just cast your Commander. Yeah, like Commander would be the right call here, actually. So like we would just leave these in here. And actually they were ordered differently, but leave this in here, cast the Commander, go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, no, 6. And then this actually goes up to 12. So stat power and toughness, 15, 15. And then we attack, and it puts counters on all these again. And then it puts 2 counters on this. Does it? No. No, it's only when it enters. So it would actually be a 16, 16. Which is perfect, because that's lethal. It's lethal on someone. So, yeah, it's good stuff. It's really fun. Really fun stuff. We could take a look at the Zemek. Let's do that. Go to Zemek, and actually let's get this under up to date, and Zemek, and then where's our boy Galloping Lizrog? Also, the Galloping Lizrog is just such an awesome name. I love it when the flavor meets up. Fair and balanced Magic. Yeah, I think Oozes are gonna cement themselves as like the largest creatures in the format easily. So what would we cut to make room for all those cards? Like we definitely don't need to play Tapping at the Window. This card is kind of mid at best. Scheming is good. We can keep that one. We have Circle the Land Druid now. What are our worst? Like our least efficient ones are probably Blanchwood, but Blanchwood does get us a card. Shriekhorn, Otherworldly Gaze. There's nothing that's 3 mana here, so I don't really want to cut any of that. Philology. So yeah, you can see we don't actually, it doesn't change a whole lot like what we can play. We just trade some card advantage for other stuff. Yeah, Oozes will, I mean, yeah, or Fogs. I don't know that removal will do it, right? Like if we want somebody dead and we hit them, then you know they're gonna. It's also like pretty hard to hit us because we follow up our combat step with more slimes or the Lizrog. You can attack with your stuff and then cast the Lizrog and then double the counters, and then you've got this massive creature that you can like protect with counter spells. So I don't know exactly how this would look. You'd have to like cut a few cards, but let's just play test it and see. Knowing of course that we're running a too few lands. So this is with Zemek. So let's test with Zemek a little bit. Draw for turn. Replace Distant Melody with the flashback Deep Analysis. I don't think Deep Analysis. We don't need Deep Analysis if we're playing Zemek. You could play Deep Analysis if you want in the Lizrog, but I don't think we need that. I don't think we need it. So let's go Forest, cycle. Actually, we're going to cycle Ash Bear. Let's cycle the Generous Scent. We're a long ways off casting that. For a Forest, draw it. Oh, Bosh, what's up? What did I miss? I see Oozes. You do. Well, we are working on... well, actually, I'm just showing people Zemek, Guildmage, and Galloping Lizrog, which are the 2 commanders that I think are well, there's actually Galloping Lizrog, Zemek, and Hermit Druid are looking like some of the best shells for Slime Against Humanity, with a special eye towards Gameskeeper. If we can basically make the Gameskeeper die, then Gameskeeper can flip the whole deck into play except for Battlefield Scrounger, and then Battlefield Scrounger can keep us from decking by putting cards back on the bottom of our library, and they happen to be slimes. And then the slimes, it just means we just keep making a huge number of slimes, which is sweet. And then Corpse Jack Menace looks pretty good too. So let's do this right here. We're going to go, I think we're going to go for the highest volume, which is going to be Commune with the Gods and Tempest Heart. I don't know. You could do it. Why not? I think Tempest Heart is probably just like worse than worse than Zemek in the same colors. So there's that mill. And then we're going to go slime. And it's going to be a 4/4. There. Draw. And at this point, I think what we want to do is probably go Winding Way. Winding Way first. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, that was a pretty good mill, but we didn't get any lands. Didn't get any lands off that. So we could go Ash Barrens, searching for an island. Play that island, pass the turn, end step, Thought Scour. 2 lands into the graveyard, draw a card, upkeep, draw a card. Well, at least we get to hold up a counterspell. Slime for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's a 7/7. Like that. And we can attack someone and then dispel something. I don't know, maybe we're interacting. And here, this is another thing that's kind of funny is even with Zemek here, like, we don't really want to play it. It's totally fine right now. Like, Zemek is going to be, in both of these decks, the commanders do something really powerful, but they're both like late game, like insurance plans. Like, Zemek is for when they haven't died and we just need like a new hand, right? And we play Zemek and then we draw like 4 cards and then we draw some more cards and then we just, and then they can't win. They probably concede at that point. Whereas Lizrog is a bit more, you just play it and it's like, okay, that's another ooze, right? Because in this case here, I don't think there's anything we can flash back. No, there isn't. So we just go to combat. We'll probably bite at any opportunity to cast our Arcane Denial. So let's just cast it. Cast the Arcane Denial. And then maybe somebody goes to kill one of our things and we Sheltering Word and we're going to draw a card off that one here. And then there's that. And then with this, we're actually going to reclaim back a slime. Oh, but that's going to be end step. So at this point, maybe we do play the Zemek. And we pass the turn. And we go reclaim. Put a slime on top. Pay 2 for Zemek to draw that slime. And then draw. And I think what we want to do is go 1, 2, 3. Cast the slime. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a 7/7. And then we'll just hold up mana to pull counters off of it. Pay 2, draw, pulling a counter off of this one. Untap. So that seems good. Feels good. Just like pull counters off and draw cards. Let's try a couple more rounds here. And then we'll probably wrap things up because the slimes aren't too terribly complicated. We're not doing rocket science here. Next turn. Look at this mono green hand. Just mill 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sick. Oh my god, that's disgusting. Turn 3, make a 5/5, followed by a 6/6 and a 7/7. Yeah. Oh, and you're going to see the Hooting Mandrills really come into action here because we're going to go here, make a 5/5. And then we're going to pass a turn. We're going to cast this, and we're going to make a 6/6. Oh yeah, we're popping off right now. And then we're going to play this Forest, and we're going to play this Hooting Mandrills. Exiling our 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. Yeah, like that. Mystic Sanctuary tapped. Slime, make a 7/7. This is turn 5, folks. Turn 5 with 10, 17, 23 power in play. It's powerful. Super powerful. These rock. Untap, and now we go 1, 2, contingency plan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we've got options now. Jam says unbothered, moisturized, happy, in my lane, focused, oozing. Yeah, yep, that's right. Unfazed and moisturized. That's the name of the game with the slimes. Wouldn't Zemek's ability to draw at instant speed also lend itself to playing a bit more of interactivity as a bit more interactively as well? Of course, I guess you don't need to interact as much if you plop down 1717 Frogzilla. Yeah. So I think this is the funny thing about it. Um, like part of the thing to keep in mind is that like this command zone kind of doesn't matter that much. Doesn't matter that much. It like yeah like you're it's basically what I'm saying is like whatever Simic thing you're doing, it's the slimes are going to be huge, right? But like ultimately, um, the this is like a backup plan. The Galloping Lizrog is like, oh, I don't have any slimes in hand. I didn't draw slime this turn, but I have 5 mana and several slimes in play, so I'm going to cast it and make it a 9/9, right? So it's kind of like, yeah, you can play. You're going to draw more cards with Zemek, but like, look at this. Like, do I need to draw more cards? I don't know if I do, right? Like here, I'm just going to take this slime and leave this on top and probably like mill these cards like that and then cast another slime. This is like turn 6 and we're presenting like so much power. And it's all trampling, like Little Tasty says. Yeah, it's all trampling. If these didn't trample, it'd be a completely different story, but they do. They do trample. They're big and hungry. Okay, no slimes, but lots of mill. So our first slime will be really big. And strategic planning could actually find us a slime. A little awkward with the tap lands here. So maybe we go turn 1 draw. Oh, Thought Scour. Okay, what do we need? We need an island, I think. Oh, what's up, Clay? Good to see you, dude. I'm working on a new slimes list. Wither Chad get a second leg day. Witherbloom Apprentice, you say? Okay. Okay. You've got my attention, Clay. Doesn't take much to talk me into building around Witherbloom Apprentice. Slime. I don't know what we call this. Like, slimes. Proactive mid-range, I guess. Yeah. What do you do with that? So you just, you just cast slimes, right? Yeah. And then you have like your storm spells just sort of like sitting in the wing for when your opponents try to combo off. That's kind of disgusting, actually. But like the only problem being that Witherbloom Apprentice is 2 mana, and all of your mill in 2 is in 2. Yeah, Jam. Clay spent a year badgering me about my stream lengths, which were too long. So it was the right advice. But I was just having fun. So, and now here he is entering chat and talking about Witherbloom Apprentice as if it isn't going to extend the length of the stream. You know me better than that, Clay. But this is not for shaming. This is just exciting. So let's do 35 slime against humanity. Let's try that. There's Scar Scale Ritual. Let's schedule a Let's Build. Yeah, we could do that. We could do that. Because I guess like in this context, we do have ways to draw cards when our opponents go to kill them, right? With the plunder effect. Because they're big and people are going to want to kill them, right? I would imagine. Yeah. Yeah. This is definitely a cool idea. I like this. So I guess, when we break it down fully, I think what we see here is that even when we're like I do think Simic is the strongest color for slimes. The self mill is unparalleled. Like these 1-mana self mill cards that we get so many of, anything from this wacky Vision Charm to like Otherworldly Gaze and Shriek. Well, Shriekhorn is colorless, but Stream of Thought. I think this is Simic is definitely like where we want to be, but for example, the Witherbloom Apprentice definitely adds another interesting angle because then you're draining everybody, which is strong. Pinging is strong. Gaining life off of your pinging is exceptionally strong. And then just having like some pocket combo stuff. And then the funny thing is that the Witherbloom Apprentice is like basically immune to removal because they can't justify killing the Witherbloom Apprentice when there's slimes because the slimes are just too big. You also... Yeah, it's very cool. So anyways, there's our Zemek. Actually, what I'm going to do here is I am going to put the Zemek Guildmage link in the chat below as well, even though it's not finished yet. It's 104 cards. We've got to figure out exactly what it is. We probably just have to cut some mill. They're essentially the same deck. Very, very, very similar. And then we have our Galloping Lizrog. Yeah, Froge against humanity. Makes me happy. Let's get get this link in here for this in the video description here. Awesome. Okay. Well, let me know, folks, if you have any questions here you want answered before we sign things off. I'll give us a couple of minutes here, seeing as it's we're actually. I mean, we could have been done basically by the end of the presentation, but it's fun to run through these playtest things and hear your guys' reaction, get all that nice positive feedback from those kind folks earlier, from Naya and Jordy. That was really lovely. So yeah, I guess I'll just keep running us through these until for the next couple of minutes here, and then we'll wrap things up. This is a great opening hand. Fly Jump, worst matchup, best matchup on the list. I think that the Hermit Druid deck has some very clear winner and loser pods. If you're in I've played against Hermit Druid in a pod that had a combo player in it, and they quickly became scarier than the combo player, and their stuff just had to die over and over and over again. Alex was making, or sorry, Eli, Rave, was making like 24 slimes, and they're not getting any smaller. So yeah. That's kind of interesting. So you kind of want to be in a pod where people aren't going to interact with you much, right? And then you can really force people to kind of use answers and potentially die. And I think that pod still could be kind of tough because if everybody's dead except for one last player, then maybe they can combo off and you don't have interaction for it. So I'm not as high on the Hermit Druid plan, but I respect what it does. It's explosive. It's super explosive. Turn 3, you're just milling so many cards into your graveyard. So, whereas like the Galloping Lizrog, by getting blue, we're actually getting interaction for the combo player. And our creatures aren't one-shots, but they're still very, very big. So I don't know, actually. I think the Galloping, I think that the Simic plan is definitely kind of my preference. Jacob asks, would Zemek Guildmage fare better in a combo meta compared to Lizrog, with the ability to hold more mana on an opponent's turn compared to spending 5 mana? I suppose so. Yep. I think a Zemek Guildmage deck never runs out of gas. Ever. Like, as long as you're hitting your land drops. I would even argue that Zemek might want more lands. That might be worth it. Because more lands, if you even have one slime in play, you can play your Zemek and then draw more slimes, right? Lizrog, you know. But if you play Lizrog on turn 5, you know, turn 1 mill, turn 2, oh my gosh. Turn 1 mill, turn 2 mill, turn 3 slime, turn 4 slime, turn 5 Lizrog. Make it into a 9/9. Turn 6 slime. That's a pretty decent clock. It's a really decent clock. Like, it's gonna kill people. So, so there we go. Next turn. Shriekhorn is gonna mill 2 more. Completely useless. We're gonna play this. Untap. Mill 1, 2. Wow. Mill 6 and nada. So I think we probably need to go even deeper and go contingency plan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Does this deck even have slimes in it? Do we leave any of these on top? I think we leave the Vision Charm on top. Yeah. Leave Vision Charm on top. Play land. Untap. Play land. 1 mana Vision Charm. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. It's a shame about the Hooting Mandrills, but it is what it is. That's what you get with self-mill decks. So we're going to make an Ooze. It's a 5/5. And then Merfolk Secret Keeper. Look at how these fit into our curve so nicely, right? We can actually like mill while... That's a lot of slimes. Okay, that's where they were. And then we cast a slime. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's a 9/9. 9/9. This is so dumb. Now we just play a slime and it's a 10/10 and we hold up Dispel. This is so gross. Right? And they go to stop it and we're like, no. No, you won't be doing that. We also have a Dream Twist in the graveyard that we could recast. That's probably worth doing. So we'll untap, pay 2, recast Dream Twist, mill 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and let's see what we get. Draw, and we get a slime. Okay, so we can't use it, unfortunately. So maybe the idea there would have been wait until we have... Yeah, but still, it's turn 7. This is 1924 power in play. And just cast another one. That's so much power. Like, you don't see this amount of power in cPDH very often. Treasure Cruise. Treasure Cruise, 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right. Oh dear. If the game goes any longer, it's going to be a bloodbath. Ah! That's insanity. Jacob, one more general question. I'm sorry. No, don't apologize. How prevalent are 5-mana commanders without cost reduction in cPDH format? What would generally be the upper limit of playability? That's a great question. Let's back out of this and take a look at some of the decks that I maintain really actively. 5-mana commanders, I think they're fine. They probably need to do something pretty good, generally speaking. So let's take a look at some examples of that. Actually, all of these are under 5. I mean, Galloping Lizrog is like, with with nothing extra done in the deck, just becomes a lethal commander damage kill. And if it dies, we don't really care, right? Like, we just keep punching them with the biggest slimes they've ever seen. 5 mana, so like Gary, that's a pretty high impact card. So Gary's definitely in there. I think that, let's see, where were we? Where's Gary? There. Gray Merchant. We've got Melek. Melek is another one. It's more than 5 mana. But Melek combos so easily. Ghostly Flicker with Mystic Sanctuary and Melek is infinite mana. This is like one of the tidiest combos in cPDH. They're, Ivy Lane Denizen plus Herd Baloth is a tidier combo, but it doesn't make, it makes infinite power and toughness and an infinitely large, or an infinite number of 4/4s and an infinitely large Herd Baloth. But this is very tidy, and like there's so many ways to find this. Like look at all these tutors, and look how many of them look for Mystic Sanctuary. We've got there's actually a lot of lines, but Drift to Phantasms can find Trinket Mage, which can find Expedition Map. It's kind of stupid, but Lorien Revealed, Shoreline Ranger, Tidal Terror, Marauding Brine Fang. You could also play Expedition Map if you wanted to. So yeah, this is definitely a 6 mana commander that's good. It puts it squarely in the big territory, and like big is it, big blue, that kind of stuff, which means you need to have a lot of mana rocks, and you're going to be playing a more defensive game plan. Old Flitterfang is another one that's 5 commander, or 5 mana. And Old Flitterfang, I haven't really updated this based on the new, I have updated it with the new Plunder cards, I think. Yeah, Fanatical Offering. Yep. But I need to update the creature base a little bit. Basically, like, one of the major changes is that, like, Changeling Outcast card, it's a good card, but when you compare it to the other drain cards, like a Vampire Spawn, or an Okiba Reckoner Raid, or or a Serrated Scorpion, this actually takes a long time to like do the same amount of damage. It works great with Cranial Plating, but so does our commander. Old Flitterfang, the reason to play Old Flitterfang is because every end step, if something died, you create a food token, and so this is a build your own cat oven. You have Old Flitterfang with Cauldron Familiar, and then something like Ashnod's Altar, right? And you just loop it over and over again. It's also a great Cranial Plating deck. It keeps you alive really well because the food tokens help you stay alive with Pestilence and Crypt Rats. It's just a good like mid-range deck. Other 5 mana commanders. There's Oxida Finisher, but this one's not 5 mana. It just looks like it's 7. It's lying though. This is a 2 mana commander. Sailor's Bane, also lying. Real Surreal. Yeah, Papa Murphy's of PDH decks. Yeah, that's right. I like that name. I like that. Real Surreal is another one. 5 mana, you're not really ramping into it. You're just kind of playing it on turn 5 because you have 37 lands in the deck. But this one, like, Real Surreal is a 5 mana commander that like justifies its place. Like, taking the initiative is in of itself like gaining a Planeswalker, and Real Surreal is a good body. It's a good body, and it gives you a Planeswalker. And later on, that body gets better when you're Planeswalker ultimates, and it like helps you close the game out. So Rilsa is a great example of a 5 mana commander that's very good. Shadowfax is pretty dang cool. I haven't seen anybody playing this one. I think they, it's just maybe not on people's radar. We got to do this here and fix up this. Shiny Impetus is ramp. It's also removal. Sweepers. Yeah. So Shadowfax is another one that's 5 mana, because at 5 mana you're not just getting your commander, you're also putting another creature into play uncounterably and for free and with haste. And so you play a lot of cards that you can cheat into play that are a lot of value. So that's pretty good. Although I haven't gotten a chance to play a whole lot of this lately. What's another one? Yeah, but I think what you're seeing here is definitely a pattern. Like Tatiova is another one. Tatiova is 5 mana. Let's see if there's anything else here. Oh man, I really want this to work someday. Furha, Judge of Valor. I think this is a cool commander. Yeah, you instantly get value. Yep. Furha looks kind of like you could probably make this work. It's a lot of card advantage over the course of a game. It's a 4 toughness black commander that flies with lifelink. Works great with cranial plating. You definitely want to ramp. It's doubling up your card advantage when you cast cheap spells. Things like flickers in particular are very cheap. So this is definitely one that you can do as like a reanimator deck with like Resurrection, Late to Dinner, False Defeat, Breath of Life, Dread Return type stuff. But, you know, Aethersworn Sphinx, but this has a cost reduction. So again, it lies. There definitely is a pattern. Like, you want cheap commanders. You want cheap commanders. Like, 1 mana commanders like Ravenous Squirrel. Dude. What the hell? This card has got so much text on it for a 1/1 with hybrid mana cost. You always play this on turn 1. Yeah, I mean, I think maybe the better way to answer your question would be to say, broadly speaking, we want cheap commanders. But it doesn't mean that we can't play expensive commanders. It just means that we, generally speaking, want cheap ones. Like Cliffhaven Vampire is a 4 mana one, which is kind of getting close to 5, right? But this one also gives you immediate value. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. And we have all these cards like Impassioned Orator, Soul Warden, you know, Lunarch Veteran type stuff that's going to make you get value off that right away. Siege Rhino. Someday, folks, they are going to, they're gonna give me my baby. Someday this symbol is going to change to an uncommon. And I'll be such an Abzan Chad, it'll be insane. I'll never play blue again. That's 4 mana. That's not actually a commander we can play. Yep, Tatiova. I think that's another one. Yeah, broadly speaking, we want cheap commanders. Yep. But again, like, this is more of a slime deck than it is a Galloping Lizrog deck. It is a slime. It's slime. This is just a slime. Yeah, it's all about the slimes, and then we have this in the command zone to get us over the edge. So, yeah. All right. Well, I think we've covered a lot of great ground here. I think this is an awesome deck. I think that there's probably a couple more homes for the slimes, our namesake card here. This card is definitely going to make a big impact on cPDH with these decks because it's just so durable. There's no way to really like stop it at a certain point. Like once your removal that like kills anything goes away, then you kind of, I don't know. It's just that they're huge. They're huge clocks, and you just like have so many in the deck that your redundancy is exceptionally high. They trample. They can be proliferated. We can get them back because they're spells. There's just a lot. There's a lot to like about it. So thanks, man. Really appreciate the in-depth answer. Of course, Jacob. Yeah, happy to answer your questions. All right. Well, I think we are going to wrap things up here. Before we do, however, I do want to take a moment to... let's see here. Oh, am I having a brain fart here? I do want to take a moment to thank all of the patrons who support the work that I do here through the Common Connoisseurs, helping me get the word out about cPDH to the broader community. So I want to list off some of the names who have joined the Patreon. We've got Yo Man Yo, we've got Brennan, Joel, HZ, Luke, Max, sorry, Paul, Neil, Alex, Jared, Dax, the PDH Pod, Eric, Adgan, Zach, Scooby, Chris, William, Derek, Ian, and Noyark. So thank you all so much for your support in continuing to help me push forward on this channel. If you too want to join the Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/common connoisseurs. It's in the link in the description below, where you can sign up for as little as $2 a month, which is about half the cost of a cup of coffee. So not very much. I think it'd cost you over the course of a year, what is that, 24 bucks? To get access to the supporters only section of the Discord, where we have all of the updates on all of my decks, where I discuss my thoughts with you all, where we have a lot of great banter back and forth about how to improve decks. We have talks about tournament type stuff, and you can share your decks there, get great advice from great members of the community. And of course, there's tons of other advantages you can get out of this if you go higher up in the donation. $5, $10, those also get you great rewards as well. And it's a great way to support the channel. So with that, I think it's time that we wrap everything up here. Connoisseurs of Fine Common Cardboard, thank you so much for being here. Wherever you are in the world, we'll catch you on the battlefield.